Hey friends, Miss K back again to read more of The Earth Dragon Awakes by Laurence Yep. Today I'm going to be reading pages 82 through 92. 9 o'clock p.m. to 10 o'clock p.m. Wednesday, April 18th, 1906. Nob Hill, San Francisco. The Eastern Fire sweeps through Chinatown toward Nob Hill and stops. Firemen and soldiers and volunteers make a stand on the steep slope of Nob Hill. Like a hungry beast, the Eastern Fire eyes the fancy hotels and mansions there. It reaches for them again and again. Each time, the firemen force it back. Downtown, firemen and soldiers hold back the ham and egg fire as well. They protect the big hotels and stores. Then, a fire starts in a downtown theater. It could be careless soldiers who lit it. It could be someone who hates the owner. No one knows. Soon, sparks fly everywhere. The firemen downtown are caught between the theater fire and the ham and egg fire. Frantically, they roll up their hoses. They pull their wagons down fiery canyons. The wind fans the flames of the ham and egg fire. It grows higher and stronger, sweeping like a wave over downtown. It races up Nob Hill toward the other firemen. The Nob Hill defenders will be trapped. The Eastern Fire is in front of them. The ham and egg fire is coming from the side. They leave too. With a roar of triumph, the Eastern Fire surges up Nob Hill. Mansions and hotels sit helpless. Their huge windows shatter from the heat. Expensive wallpaper and paintings blacken and burst into flame. Costly rugs shrivel and burn. Fancy brass doorknobs melt. Fragile glassware shatters. Antique furniture and silverware become blackened lumps. Huge crystal chandeliers crash from burning ceilings. On top of Nob Hill, the ham and egg fire and Eastern Fire merge. They become one giant monster now. It is the firemen's worst nightmare. 11 o'clock p.m., Wednesday, April 18th, 1906. Oakland waterfront. Chen and Ah Sing's cousin, Ah Bing, buys fish from fishermen. Then he sells the catch to stores and restaurants. His warehouse is at the Oakland waterfront. He welcomes Chin and Ah Sing. "I thought you were dead." "Almost," Ah Sing says. They go out to the pier and stare at the blazing city. Fire covers San Francisco's hills, changing night to an eerie twilight. It colors the billowing clouds of smoke a brick red. It reflects off the bay waters like a flight of scarlet arrows. Ah Quan is with them. He brushes some ash from his sleeve. "No one's alive in that," he says. "The Earth Dragon has taken a terrible revenge." "Poor Henry," Chin says. "Poor everyone," his father says. Noon, Thursday, April 19th, 1906, North San Francisco. Flames fill the sky. Clouds of smoke roll overhead like copper waves. At noon, it is only a sullen twilight. The heat and the ash make it hard to breathe. Soot covers everything. Lost dogs and cats prowl all around. Henry holds onto Sawyer tight. They are still at the northern edge of San Francisco. His thirsty pet wants to drink from the salty bay. Henry is tempted himself. His mouth is parched. The water rolls by so close. No one sings or plays instruments anymore. Everybody is too scared. They huddle together. Some stare, some weep, some pray. They all listen. Boom, boom, boom! The firemen and soldiers are still blowing up buildings and creating fire breaks. The flames keep coming anyway. Mr. Travis coughs. "I want you to know one thing. I love you both very much." Mrs. Travis hugs him and Henry. "And we love you." Henry feels like crying, but the tears don't come. He is too dry inside. All of a sudden, people begin to scream in terror. "Runaway horse!" someone yells in the distance. The horse is a big beast. It usually pulls heavy wagons. At that moment, it is free. Its hooves thunder as it gallops. Its eyes are wide with fear. A broken tethering strap dangles from its harness. People jump to either side. The panicky horse cuts through the crowd like a ship through a sea. Henry holds Sawyer tight and gets up. The little German girl next to him just sits and stares. She is too terrified to move. Henry stumbles over her. Desperately, Mrs. Travis picks up a pink parasol. She opens and closes it. She yells at the top of her lungs. Mr. Travis grabs a red umbrella and flaps it too. He shouts as well. The bright shapes of the umbrella swell and shrink fast, startling the horse. It stops and rears up. Its hooves flash in the air. Mr. Travis drops the umbrella and darts in. The horse sets its forelegs down for a moment. Mr. Travis grabs its bridle. He has timed it perfectly. Their Mexican and German neighbors help him hold the horse. Mr. Travis speaks soothing words. The huge horse trembles, but listens and stays still. Mrs. Travis folds her parasol in triumph. "What did I tell you about the umbrellas?" Mr. Travis bows. "I will never laugh at your collection again," he promises. Afternoon, Thursday, April 19th, 1906, to the afternoon of Friday, April 20th, 1906, San Francisco. The three major fires fuse into one titanic monster. They become the Great Fire. The Great Fire sprawls over most of the city. It devours wood. It curls steel beams like hair. It sucks the air from all around it, casting off more heat than 1,000 furnaces. A big blaze like the Great Fire creates a firestorm. A fire heats the air. Then the hot air rises. Cold air rushes in and takes the place of the hot air. With small fires, it is just a draft. With the Great Fire, it is giant gusts of wind. They fan the flames, making them even bigger. The winds can knock people and animals back into the fire itself. Water boils at 100 degrees Celsius. The air in the Great Fire is 20 times hotter than that. At such a high temperature, wood and cloth and flesh burst instantly into flame. Most metals will melt. The Great Fire is huge. So is its appetite. It sweeps on like a tidal wave over the hills. Buildings ignite at its touch. More Navy ships sail into the bay. The crews can see the Great Fire. They dock anyway at the unburned piers. From the ships, brave sailors and Marines march into the city. San Francisco will not give up. Van Ness Avenue is a broad street. It is perfect for a fire break. Many of the firemen gather here to make a stand. They dynamite the mansions on either side. Huge clouds of dust mix with the smoke. The houses they set fire to burn down quickly. The Great Fire will find nothing to feed on. The army sends its cannon. Big horses clop down Van Ness. The gunners jump down from the limbers and unhitch their guns. They aim them at the fancy houses and fire. Shells shatter glass and splinter wood. They pound the mansions into ruins. It is a real war now. The Great Fire halts at the firebreak on Van Ness. Hungrily, it reaches for the unburned houses beyond. But the area is too wide. Only sparks land on the other side of the firebreak. Firemen quickly fling buckets of water on them. A Navy tug pumps salt water from the bay. It travels in a miles-long hose to the firemen. They also find 2 hydrants that still work. They hook up more hoses to these. Then they shoot streams of water against the flames. The great fire tries to sweep north of the firebreak where the mansions still stand. The dynamiters and gunners race ahead of the great fire to extend the firebreak. Firemen dash into buildings and place their dynamite. Then they set the fuse and run out. Sometimes they have hardly left the mansion before it explodes. The army gunners fire their cannon yards away from their targets. Firemen and gunners dodge the flying debris and move on. They must keep ahead of the hungry flames. The firemen hold most of Van Ness Avenue. But then the great fire slips south. It gets ahead of the firemen. Flames claim the still erect mansions on one side of Van Ness. From these rooftops, the great fire sends flaming darts across the street. Soon, the mansions are burning on the other side. The great fire crosses Van Ness Avenue in that spot. It has won the race. The rest of the city lies helpless before it. Firemen and gunners must coax scared horses back into their harnesses. Then tired men and animals stumble 1 block west of Franklin Street. They will make a new stand there. The desperate battle begins again. The great fire forces them back another block to Gulf Street. The firemen start over. They will not give up.